Good morning. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Ryan Selvey. I'm very excited to be joined by Cyn Lagos. How's it going, Cyn?
Hello, hello. Hi everyone. It's going really well for me. Mid of the day almost. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know we're over here on the East Coast, so we're a little bit different.
Yeah.
But just welcome to everyone from around the world. Today we are going to be working on some video editing and
Mhm.
some how to improve your video editing workflow. For anyone who is not familiar with your work, do you want to give a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Cyn Lagos. I work on different areas of visual language. I mostly focus on photography, design, and video editing. It's been sort of something that developed for me just very organically. I was curious about photography, so I went for it. Curious about video editing, so I went for it. So if you are here because you're curious and you love to learn and you're a self-educator, then you're in the right place. I had a similar journey to come to know what I know now. So hopefully today I'll be able to share some knowledge on Premiere's new features. So I'm curious to explore them alongside you. But in the meantime, you can check out my website where I have a lot of different cool projects that I've worked on in the past. But I always say this isn't just a place for you to get to know me. It's also a place where you can find resources like files, templates for Premiere Pro, or different tutorials and different educations here too. So
Oh, it's
if
a
I go,
resource. Okay, double whammy.
yeah, yeah. So if you go here
Oh,
on
that's
the
cool.
classes, you can find like Adobe live streams and different series that I've explored in the past. So check that out. I love filling this in with goodies and Easter eggs that nobody knows, but every so often somebody downloads and I'm like, yep, you found them. So check that out.
Hey, it's Adobe Live right there.
Today, yeah, that's Adobe Live. That's the San Francisco studio. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be working on. I'm going to be on Premiere Beta, but I have come to learn some of these features are also already in Premiere. So they go over from Premiere Beta. You can test them, check them out, try them out. If there's any bugs, you always tell us or whatnot. And then we go over to Premiere. So some of these features are also in there too. So I might open that up once we're
Get a
working
little
through the
crazy. Who
project.
knows what?
Yeah.
Who knows where the stream will take us? We're here for the next hour or so, and so we are excited to hop into video editing. And if you guys have questions, comments, please by all means throw them in the chat. I will be here to pass them along over to Cyn. Already seeing Sean and Cody saying hi in the chat. So good morning to you guys.
Hi.
And if you guys have
Hi, Sean. Hi,
questions, we'd
Cody.
love to hear from you. But yeah, so I know you said we're gonna be looking at, but what are we gonna be working on today?
Okay, so I have here in front of me Premiere Pro Beta. The names are a little bit tricky for me. Okay, so Premiere Beta, this is where we're at. So if something looks slightly different, that's probably why. I have a few clips in here from my recent trip to Spain. It was a really cool trip that always kind of just lends itself to so many beautiful things I can capture with a photo camera or a video camera. So I'm excited to show you some of that. It's actually, to be fair, it's totally my first time like browsing through all of these files alongside with you. So I'll let you know sort of like my process of considering some of these clips, where I see the potential, how I go about managing the color, and especially today, because we have a brand new space called color mode in Premiere. And it is maybe like not exactly brand new because it's now over to Premiere, but it is new. It is very different in the sense of how we work. So it might, if you're already someone who does editing and grading and Premiere, you might just be like, where do I even begin? Like, I'm accustomed to a workflow. How do I even get started? The same way for someone who's just starting. So if you're just starting to learn video editing, just know right now you're like at the same level playing field as everyone else, because this color mode really does shift things and make them very accessible. So this is what I'll be working on here. A little backstory on Spain For me, I've been there. I think I was telling just Ryan now. I've been there. This is my now third time, so it wasn't my first time going. But you know what? The second time I went, I had this like very self-awareness of, hey, I want to learn video editing and I want to learn video. And at the time, I only knew how to operate a photo camera. So if you have those two skill sets, like photo and video, in your tool belt, you probably know this weird phenomenon that happens where you start recording, but you realize, hey, nothing's moving. I think I'm hitting record, but I actually like have nothing moving in the scene, nor the cameras moving in the scene. So I think I'm just taking a picture here, you know? It's just like a faux pas of being in the headspace of a photographer. And it took me a little while to get a sensibility for what it's like to film, right? Take those like 10 seconds of something is moving, something is happening, a story is being told through these little increments of times that you're collecting in like little chunks of clips, right? And here in Premiere is where you kind of put it together, right? You bring all those ingredients and put them in a sequence of events. So here I have a couple of nested clips. I have three in total.
Hmm.
So if you don't know what nested clips are, think of them as folders. I'm gonna just make this gigantic so you can see. It sometimes helps to make them this big because you can see what's in them. You can see literally the picture. But I like to work with nested quote unquote folders because I can always double click and go inside each project and it allows me to work independently. So I don't have to kind of be overwhelmed with the collection of clips that you probably would get in a trip like this. Instead,
Right.
I'm working on them one by one, sort of like section by section, chapter by chapter, that type of thing. And in this section, I'm hoping to achieve an intro. So you
Okay.
quite frequently have to consider, the structure, intro, middle, outro at the very least, right?
Yeah.
So
Just
in this one, I
basic
want an
plot
intro, which
devices, kind
you
of.
might have just seen, which goes a little like this. I'm going to show you how to go about this. It might be a little bit slow because we are streaming, but I just want you to see sort of the steps at the very least. Okay. So
Is that your
this
dad?
goes a little like this. I filmed him on purpose. Mind you, I
Just
have
kidding.
this running on my computer, but I filmed him on purpose, just coming into the scene
Hmm.
and on purpose exiting the scene. I
Yeah.
knew that I was going to be using this clip for something like this. And I felt like, okay, let me just make sure that my camera is static. So it was on a tripod and I just left it rolling and
Did you just bring like a
everything just
little
sort of
tiny
happened, which
tripod?
is kind of cool. It's one of my favorite things to just like watch things happen as after I hit record and not move a hair, not breathe, not do anything. So,
Wait, can you hear
I
me?
absolutely love how it came
You
out.
can't hear me.
I'm going to show you how I went about coloring it and how I went about doing this effect with masking tools. So let's start with the coloring. I'm going to start with this clip here. I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to hold Alt and Shift if I want to duplicate anything. But I'm really just doing this to demo it. It's not a crucial step of the workflow. So if I was working on this clip alone, for example, what I would do right here is first of all, observe like where this clip used to live. So I'm going to go to reveal in project and it shows it to me right here. Okay. So when I look at this clip right here, which is the program, the source monitor, or right here, which is the program monitor, where you're watching the entire sequence, they look pretty similar in color palette, right?
Yeah, look
But
great.
what I'm gonna do here is, oh,
Did you see my message? Is that what's happening? I think you saw my message. So while she is figuring that out to see that, I just want to say
okay, so
hello
let me
to
see.
Liz B and to
I want
Dino
to reveal
Rex. Thank you guys for
this
being here.
in Finder. I always lose where that is. I don't know why, but I do lose it all the time. So I'm going to just put this over here real quick so we can see this. Okay. So let's take a look at the original clip, right? So this is the original clip right now. And what you'll see is that it has this kind of milky S-Log signature color palette. So that
Right.
is on purpose. So you get the most color data out of your camera. And for this, I was using an FX30, so pretty much a video camera. It's so much a video camera, it doesn't have a viewfinder, so you are not intended to take pictures with it. So that's one way to kind of stop that phenomenon that I just talked to you about earlier.
Right.
Um, Here's our guy, right? He's coming through. Let me know if you can see that, by the way, because I'm pretty sure we share the whole screen.
Yeah.
But you can see that
Yes, we
I
can.
intended to grab this clip with that purpose of having it be the intro.
Great. Also, I'm seeing
And
Lisby
I'm going to
says,
be coloring
go ahead.
this over here. Now,
All
when we
right.
look at both files, this looks totally different, right? Why is this completely colored? So I'm gonna remove all attributes just to make sure it's that. Okay. So when we are talking about color, surprisingly, it doesn't begin in that tab of color up here, which we're gonna find up here, right? It actually begins around here. Let me see. Oh, Ryan, you're trying to reach me? Maybe my audio can't, it's not
There
coming
we
through.
go. Yeah.
All
I was
right,
like, you're more than welcome to do it solo
let's
if you want to do it solo.
take a second for
Uh,
this.
I just want
Okay,
to
let's
figure
see. Okay, chat, drop in the chat if you have any questions so far while we bring Ryan and I in the same stratosphere.
the same
Okay.
stratosphere.
Let's see.
All right. So we shall see here. Um, Now I'm seeing Liz B says, I'm a new digital media production student this year. Can't wait to see more. And very excited to uh, learn more about your process as a digital media production student. Where are you going to school? Um, and also, as we troubleshoot things, we will be going
I can
from
hear you.
there. You can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, we're back. Heck yeah.
Okay.
Welcome back to it. Dinah
Um,
wants to know, what camera are you shooting with?
Yes, I'll let you know that. Okay, hands up in the chat, please, because troubleshooting live is always so stressful. But thank you for figuring that out with me. So what camera was I shooting with? So I was shooting with an FX30. It's a Sony. Um, it is definitely a video camera intended specifically for video. There's just so much to learn about the equipment alone. So it's been kind of like my go-to camera to try to figure out all of these different granular details that have to happen inside the camera first before any of this coloring can be up to par. I know that
Right.
sounds complicated, but put it simply, the light should be good and you should be an S-Log. And that should help you get the most out of this color mode also that is in here because it's intended to work with files like that. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your questions. There's so many other video cameras are great. This one right here is also a good video camera. Depends what you want it for, to be honest. But if you're someone who is casually filming, the Sony CV10 Mark II is the one that I use. But yeah, this is an FX30 and I love it. I think it does look very different and it's really hard for you to see because we're streaming, so the quality of the detail is not like exactly as I see it. But what I see is like, wow, there's so much delicate detail here, but also it gets faded where it must. So it looks a little bit more natural than a hyper pixelated file. Either
Right.
way, I find that really interesting.
I'm seeing in the
Um,
chat, Liz is saying that she's having lots of fun with Photoshop and Illustrator in their intro classes because they're doing
ooh,
media production program, which
oh, media
is great.
production program sounds so serious.
Very serious.
you know but it's like Photoshop and art and Illustrator, that's the complete opposite of what I
It
would
all
think, but
blends together. It all turns into one big thing, right?
It does. That's my point. I've been saying this forever, but everybody's like niche, niche, niche. It was just like echoing. But I'm like, no, actually, I think they all sort of relate. I'm gonna bring up my cursor just so that y'all know where I'm pointing at. Yeah. Okay. So now we're here in the color management tool. And I know this part is not like the cutest, most colorful candy shop, but it is very important because in here you're learning everything about your file. So you can see about your project. You can tell what color this file is resting on. So something really cool that happened, which is what I was trying to demonstrate earlier, is that this file is actually this sort of milky color, and now it's this color palette, and we haven't actually exactly edited it just yet. This happens because not too long ago, we have Premiere now detecting the type of file that you have, because this file right here is our eyes can't see the color that it is intended for.
Yeah.
So by bringing it into Premiere, you're able to see it in a converted file, basically Rec 709, that your eyes can see. So that's great. It just did that for us, and we didn't have to even think about it. I didn't even have to demo it, but I just
And
wanted you
Rec
to know
709 is kind of the standard, right? That's kind of like at
it's
least a
the
good
standard
starting
of
point.
how you
Go.
see, how you watch like your TV, how you watch your mobile phones. But TV has all these like broadcasting other types of files. But just think
Of
of it
course.
in a very nerdy way, like when somebody learned what a USB-C was versus USB. I mean,
Right.
if you know,
And
that's a
if you know,
very
you know.
random little fact, but it
Right.
saves you when you're asking for a charger. But basically, this is one of those things that, like, yeah, these are file systems that just get better. It's file technology that just gets more interesting. But it's not. You don't hear about it on the on the front stands of a newspaper or something. But you
Right.
do know that they're
Imagine.
valuable. Imagine Rec 709. That would be so hilarious. I would buy
Yeah,
it.
now I would have it just to be able to keep it in my in my drawer.
Yeah, seriously. So, basically, this is going to be the file that's going to help you recognize the color palette. Now, let's just jump into color. I think I've explained the tech enough. Okay, so here you can see on the right-hand side, we've stepped into color. This is a brand new tab. This tab alone is so cool because it has a compartmentalized space where we get to work on nothing else but color. And that for me is huge because it can get really overwhelming. You're looking at every button and you kind of forget which phase of the editing process you were just in. And
Hmm.
yeah, so here you have on the right hand side all of the clips that exist within that nested folder and not the other clips, right? So we are within a folder in color mode. And in here, I can see the different clips, and we can even see our text, but don't worry about that. We're not going to be doing that because it disables some of our editing process here. So if we go to this clip, for example, we can see this clip did have some stuff, but even if it didn't, you can see how it's like a regular color right here. What I want to do is show you what I would do first on this clip. Okay, let me just press play really quick. Okay, here. Okay, so on the left-hand side, we're going to have two very important sections. We have the clip section and we have the sequence section. And each
Okay.
time you're adding this sort of layer on top of your color editing operations. So if you like to start with light, which I like to start with light, then you just have to make a decision. I'm starting with light and I'm only applying it to one clip, or I'm applying it to the whole sequence. So that is the first decision you want to make. What am I doing and what do I want to apply it to? I want to apply it just to this particular clip. So I'm going to start with adjust here, and it's going to be a clip, right? And I can always rename it so I can stay organized, and I just say light balance. The reason why I like to focus on light is because you want to give whatever if you have a LUT or anything that you want to apply to it later, if you
Yeah.
have something like this, you want to give it the best chance possible at the light spectrum that you have captured. And you probably did already a great job on your camera, but this is
Thank you.
just like that extra step. Yes, good job, Brian. This is just that extra step to make sure you're meeting, you know, the best standard possible. So this kind of takes a little bit of time to be honest, but just
That's
by
okay. We got time.
observation, okay, just by observation, what I want you to see is that every time you press one of these buttons, you don't have to hold the button. You just go up and down after that. And if you could see my mouse, you would be able to see that. I'm just going, scrolling vertically on the, or horizontally. So either way, it's going to create an effect, but I'm no longer holding or pressing that button. Once I'm ready to let go and apply that effect, whatever that may be, I can click it once more, and that HUD, which is the head-up display that just came to help us, disappears, and also your effect gets applied. So
And it's cool
that,
because
yeah,
if I just can jump in, is that heads up display is contextual on each tool. So it's going to look different depending on what you're editing and what you're changing. And then it gets out of your way once you're done. I'm also seeing
yeah,
a question from Dino asking
that's a good
about
point.
if there's an update when color mode will be on normal Premiere. Not as of today. I know they're still using the beta to get feedback and work out some kinks and bugs. So that's if you use it, being able to provide feedback is helpful to get it into a nice spot to then be able to push it out into the full version. I know the Adobe team likes to hold off on putting things in full version until they are 120% down that it is good to go. And then just to round back real quick to a hey okay question, just since we are taking a quick second, they want to know
Hmm.
if when you're shooting specifically with a video camera, if it's drastically different than when you're taking photos with like your DSLR, like if you're considering like exposure and stuff.
Oh yeah, completely. The first time I went to Spain, I actually had an A7R3. That was the camera where I said, I'm committed, I'm gonna learn videography. But even that camera, and it's literally right behind me, but even that camera had viewfinder. So I still can double it as a photo camera. So these other uh, video cameras I mentioned have no viewfinder, so you can't see through this little um, square, which to me is so vital to the process
It's scary.
that yeah,
It's
I
like
really have tried to do it without, and the FX30 is funny because I can touch the screen and like objectively, like basically take the photo, but it is manually in the experience of doing it, it's not fun.
yeah,
So it has to be fun somehow where you're like, you don't even look at the settings, you just memorize them on your camera. So if your camera feels good to hold, there we go. So yeah, that camera does double as my photo camera. Makes a huge difference. When you're in video, you're almost taking with you your inner editor so that you can think, okay, so you know what? I'm gonna probably do that while I'm cooking and editing, right? And you
right.
make your life easier almost. And I'm often thinking that other person that filmed, and I'm like, oh, she did a good job. I'm so glad, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's like I'm so glad, but it doesn't always happen this way, of course. So
And
yeah.
then the last question that I'm seeing here is from Liz and saying that in the event that Premiere doesn't convert the file, how would you recolor the video to give that more vibrant look? So you're going to go through and you're going to want to modify the interpretation of the source file, and that'll be in your editing section. You'll right click, you'll go to modify, and then you'll go to color space, and then you can switch the color space. But if you're asking how you will adjust that outside of maybe changing that, oh wait,
I'm gonna show you,
one
yeah,
second.
that thing you just said. So
Okay,
you're
there we go.
right here, you right click,
Mm-hmm.
and
And you
then
go
you
to
go
modify.
to modify, which
It's way up
always
towards the
throws
top.
me off.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, and then you go to color, which is
Yep.
right here. And then here you'll get to learn, it's kind of like the color management tool, like you'll learn a lot about your file.
Oh,
And
it's
I think
actually
you
yeah.
would
Interpret footage. My bad. Sorry.
interpret footage and you can interpret it to be like a different frame rate, all this stuff, but I think you're right color.
Oh yeah, that's right there.
So in here you can add a lot directly into that clip, and that clip will forever like walk around the entire environment of Premiere and have that LUT attached to it. It's a little bit kind of baked in, but
And
I
then you
would
can do
like,
the override media color space as well.
right,
There
so
we
that
go.
would be
That's what I
this
was looking for originally.
this
Yeah,
one,
that. So, yeah,
override
yeah.
media color space. And then so if you override your color space in here, there's a number of them, but you'll also find that Rec 709. And I think this step is like a step that typically you would have to do all the time, but now it can determine, hey, this file here needs a Rec 709.
Yeah.
And this other mobile phone footage doesn't. Something like this.
Yeah, it's gotten smarter.
It's gotten smarter, so you could potentially skip the step, but if you needed to do it manually for whatever reason, that's where that exists.
Good call out. Thank you, Cyn.
Yeah.
And sorry for also derailing you with like being like, oh, I think it's over here, it's over
How
there.
dare you
You are the
teach us
expert. I am sorry.
something very specific? I love this type of stuff because it would drive me crazy not knowing what was I doing wrong, and these things could be very much just like understanding your file a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
Um, okay,
Always more to learn.
so I'm editing the lighting. So typically what I'm looking for in this exposure is like there is probably information that's blown out from the highlights. And so we want to bring that down a little bit. But you'll notice here on the color and contrast, you're going to find these three little buttons, which are really is easy to miss. This is global. That's a little globe for, hey, this is going to affect the entire scene. This is going to be your shadows, and this is going to be your highlights. So if you want to get even more specific, you can actually just hover and see where it's in determining these are the shadows that you would be affecting. So if you want to hit that exposure of just the shadows, because you want to isolate that, then you can just click once and then scroll up and down. And as you know, probably, likely, coloring is a subtle art. It is not about pushing the limits entirely. These files are kind of this like mathematical equation, science, like everything all at once.
Yeah.
And we're not going to pretend to like really like push them to their limits. But what's the good news is that because it's a subtle art, you can just go in here and retouch and layer and layer and layer until you feel like you're in a good place. So that's what I like to do there on the light. Then I can also apply a style or an adjustment. So an adjustment is going to be another adjustment that you can determine whether it's going to land on the light side or it's going to be on color and styling. For me, I think when it comes to correction, you also have to visit the color and contrast section. So let's call this rename uh, balance, color balance. So this would be for the temperature. So we're aiming to have a white balance, right? Like I actually did a pretty good job out here, but it's not always the case. So you want to, if it's too yellow, you want to push it down to the blues. And I want you to pay attention to that, like HUD on the right hand side, because now it's a different graph altogether. Because of what Ryan said earlier, based on whatever you're working on, the context of that HUD display is going to be different and it's going to teach you something about what you're changing. So right now it looks super cool. Do you guys ever use that those color things that you can throw and just everybody ends up in color? I think there was a time that we always did photo shoots for that, but I don't know if anybody else remembers that.
No, absolutely.
That's
Back when it was just like cranked out to insane, like MySpace level status of just
yes,
like all the way
just
up.
my space level. Okay, so now we know where you were.
Yeah, sorry, sorry.
So you can see here, for example, mine was a little bit warm, right? So then I just tinted that down towards the blue, which is in the color this what is it? The color wheel.
Hmm.
It was like the color circle, the color. So the color wheel is, you can see it visibly here. If it's yellow at the top, then if my scene is yellow, I want to go on the opposing side, which is going to have that blue, purple, and those colors are going to give me that white, that true neutral white that I'm aiming for. If it's too green, go over to the purple side, and so far it's just like those four colors that you tend to contend with when you can't find your white balance. In my case, it was pretty simple. I just went to a little bit of blue. You can
Great.
also add some color balance here. Sometimes some of these I do think about them a little bit like a styling choice, not just a correcting choice, because you can add a little bit of green and suddenly you're like Portrait 400, on your film camera, even though you were using a digital camera all along. But you can
Don't tell anyone.
also, don't tell anyone. No one's gonna tell them. We're not gonna tell them.
How will they know? How
This
will they
chat
know?
would, yeah, this chat won't say anything. But yes, you have also the saturation. Saturation can be a little dangerous, right? We can blow up these scenes and go all Wes Anderson on this
Yeah.
lovely moment. Or typically, I like to reserve saturation for vibrance instead. So
Okay.
the vibrance or luminance of the color as opposed to like how much color there is. So I tend to leave this just like as a little subtle shift, but I'll leave it mostly for later. Um, you'll notice too, I just want to say one thing. At the very top of that you can also see a numerical like number. I use that to be able to be more accurate because yeah, otherwise maybe there's no other way to see a number, but that gives me okay, it was around 1.6. Okay, I'm gonna leave it there.
Nice
The
point of
next time I
reference
play
for
with
you.
it. Yeah. So I kind of found it after a while. It took me some time to notice it. Okay, so now we get to the fun part. I was about to make a mistake, and I'm going to tell you what that mistake was going to be. So I was going to continue this and go into my color shift, which typically here, this is the stage of styling, of just exploring your creativity and your choice. You're no longer correcting. Sure, you can use all of these tools for correcting, but if you're thinking about the headspace you were in at the time, now you can get conceptual with your color palettes if you like to. If you're trying to create a broody kind of mood, then you probably go darker and so on. This is where I would make those choices, even if they could be made for correcting. But the mistake overall is that I would be making that choice, which is a different step of the operations, in the same exact layer of color balance. So if I make a shift here, that shift lives inside of that layer. So if I get rid of that layer, then that shift will also go with it. And by the way, you can right click and hit delete, and then all of those corrections that we did would be gone alongside, you know, that color shift correction. So what we want is to compartmentalize all of those into actual layers. So let's go here and say, okay, now I think I'm ready for a clip adjustment that has to do with styling. And it's such a common part of the step that even Premiere provides a add a clip style, and it kind of brings in another room of really fun stuff. And I'll show it to you in a little bit. But let's say you're doing this styling manually, then you would be stepping into color shift, which I don't want to skip this part because it's super fun. And you can just hover like we did before. I
Also,
wish,
what you just did before then was
yeah,
also with the styling and being able to name your different modules, I think is very
modules. Mhm.
useful. And like little tags of being able to be like, what is the name of the
Yeah,
styling? That way you can kind of backtrack or even hand it off to somebody else and they'll be able to see
right.
which each adjustment is doing.
I like the idea of handing it off to someone else. I'll send it to you, right? And be
Yeah,
like,
thanks.
here, do the rest of the work. Okay, so this is right. Like it does take a little while to figure out like your recipe for your workflow. So if you figured it out, try to divide it and then put them into those modules, right? So we've got here styling, and when you hover over the color green, which is what we have chosen here, you'll have this representation on the screen of where that color lives. So it's very cool because, again, if you don't want to make a global edit, you're only modifying the green areas here. And in the same way, you can approach all these other colors. If there's the color blue, then we can see we've selected the color blue and we hover over it. You can only see the blue on the scene, which is so cool
Which is great.
to see
Like even the little
where it
boats in the
exists.
background as well.
And sometimes you might be working with several blues. So it's kind of neat to see this preview and know that, okay, well, I am affecting the same blue that is in the sky. It would be affecting the boats, but not entirely. You can see there's a bit of a gradient there, which means that's
Hmm.
not exact hue. So it's kind of cool that it can be that precise. And here we've got these other representations, I guess, these infographics of like how your scene is shifting. So if I click it again, okay, don't just look at the HUD, definitely look at here in the color shift. You can see how this goes up or down. And it shows the representation of how much color you've added here, right? I'm in saturation. So like I said, it can get really dangerous with saturation. And you could also just double click it and just completely reset it so it looks good. And then I'm just not going to use the saturation. But what I would use is the hue. So in here is hue. We're going to determine what kind of blue we're talking about. And also, see what the file can give us because this isn't quite a JPEG or even a raw file, like a photography file that you would typically get. It doesn't behave the same way. So
Okay.
you do have to be very conscious of that. Like you can't just like go like this and be like, "Ooh, I got a new color." Depends. Sometimes you can.
Right.
But not all the time. You want to be subtle with it. So right now I can say, "Oh, I actually kind of want this blue to be a little bit tinted green." So it looks like even dreamier or something like that. I'll leave it there. And then how much light is in that blue also can be determined here. And the luminance, maybe a little bit. Um, and that's just the blue, right? If you wanted to pick a particular color, you also have a sample hue that can let you pick that center blue that we couldn't capture earlier and then
Okay.
just shift it or change the hue alongside of it. So that's just color shift. If you want to see the kind of the before and after, I just changed the blue on the sky. And you can just see how that looks.
And I'll say it
And
just gives you a lot more control over specific spectrums. It's just like color is a science like anything else. And, we perceive color
yeah.
as human eyeballs as one thing. And the machines are also getting a lot of data and it's being able to meet those hand in hand. But then it's also cool when, yeah, you can get in here and you just be like, take that green and flip it around, but don't touch anything else, which
Yeah,
is really neat.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, to be more specific. And then here I can potentially discard this and say, actually, I just want a style, clip style. And then what that does, I'm excited for this one because it's like, it was always in Premiere, but it was a little bit dormant.
Hmm.
And it would typically be found in like your effects, style presets here. So here, you have all of these, think of them as presettings that have been figured out for you. Um, it's kind of funny when you say the word enough times, you're like, oh, this was on
Like, oh,
purpose.
wait a second. I do that all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, like, do you know about keyframe? Keyframe being the
No.
key frame in which somebody would sketch over because you would have to have the
Stop.
first frame, which is your key
No.
frame. Um,
No. No.
this is true, real life. So then in here, you should be able to find some really cool alternatives to color choices. Some of these you can choose as like a way to correct your file or maybe just to kind of play around with different styles. Like you see this one has like high contrast. It gives definitely a lot of different energy from maybe something like this, a little bit softer. Whether it's correct or not, that's kind of up to you to decide, like, okay, here I am in the stages of correcting a file, which, it's about having white balance, having enough light.
Yeah.
At which point do you step into, hey, actually, I'm just playing with color with some guidelines, right? Like I like this color. It's not perfect on white balance necessarily, but it's giving that vintage, it's older, it's history. And it's also I have some guidelines like his skin is not blown out. His skin looks natural, but I can still go in there and retouch it.
Yeah.
So it's cool to have a nice setup of these in here. In here, though, in the style modules, we can actually add our own recipe of different styles that we can bring in here. And that looks really cool once you do it, by the way. So I'm going to start here with maybe some of the lesser known. So we have played with color and contrast. We have played with color shift. That was our second round. And these are a little bit less known, right? So film color in here. So I'm going to press it and it brings out all of these fun new like things to play with.
Right.
And it has in here has this film color imitation of like different films. So we have Fuji in here. Let me try a few of them. You can see the Kodak. Kodak always has that like kind of
Okay, I have friends that
blue,
shoot on actual
blue.
Kodak. It's so pretty. When they
It's so
actually
pretty.
get it, I'm
Yeah.
like,
And
oh my god.
when I'm looking at this, I'm always thinking, yeah, it looks really nice. Wait till it exports because it's going to look really, really nice.
Yeah.
Because of course it's just a preview, but even that one looked really nice. I thought, yeah, it was that one. This Fuji one is so pretty. It is Riala 500D. Drop it in the chat if you've used it in the past. Is it
Hmm?
35 millimeter? Is it an obscure that I've never heard of? Because I
I
haven't
was gonna
used
say,
it.
do you tend
Uh,
to kind of revisit the same ones over and over again?
yeah, I mean, because they're affordable. You're
Yeah.
like, okay, I
Oh
can
no,
get
I
a
meant just
pack of
even like
these.
even when you're doing these presets, but aside from even buying them in real life.
Oh,
Um,
do I use the same ones?
yeah,
I
yeah.
honestly tend to go for this one and the Kodak. I think it was this one. Quite a lot, yeah, the 5218 because they look so good on different scenarios that it ends up kind of just favoring any light condition that I might find. But I can also come in here. Let me see that one looks, yeah, that's the one I liked. I can also come in here and continue to play with maybe like how much are the highlights being pushed. It's interesting to also have an archive in your mind of what kind of colors have been used in cinema, have been used in the history of photography, like films. What are we even trying to do, right? Like,
Hmm.
and some of those steps, like I said, are corrective, but some of those steps are really like your style. And so what's that style? It's kind of like your choice if you want to add a little bit of purple into the shadows to make it look like romantic and, you know, something like this. Why would I determine that's romantic? Because purple, pinks, and all of these color palettes have been used in literally romance renaissance.
Countless,
So
countless.
in
Yeah.
paintings, like you stare at a painting, you look up close, you're like, huh, those shadows are not black. They are actually kind of maroon.
I remember when I learned
And
that in illustration was that when shadows aren't just black, there are warm shadows and there are cold shadows. And then you start to look at
really
different
good
famous
for you.
illustrators or different things, and you're like, wait a second. To that point, when you're saying like, you're watching famous film or photos and you look at the shadows, you're like, wait a second. My brain is doing all of the catch up. Like I am just associating it as black, but actually, there is color to be had there, and that's what's really going to make it feel lively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like an aha moment. And it goes the same for highlights too. You can paint highlights. So you can say, like, for example, here you have a highlight balance, right? You can determine, okay, wait, is that highlight meant to be like absolutely white, or can I add a little bit of green, or can I add, you can see literally the red, blue, and green lines on the HUD being
Hmm.
separated. So typically when those are together, they're going to create a perfect white, right? And sometimes they're meant to be that way, and sometimes they just can't because of the way that you filmed it. But if you don't want that, you can still see that being reflected. Like I added more red hue, and that red line is now moving also. And that is super cool to watch because I always tend to just try to put them all together if I really want to achieve that white balance and separate them just a tad if I want to push in one direction or the other, like typically red or typically blue.
Okay.
And even in here, you can see that that arrow is pointing more towards that blue and then that green. I,
Oh,
I
look at
love,
that! I like the little arrow. I hadn't seen that one yet, actually. Where
yeah,
it's just kind of
the
like an
little
interactive
arrow.
icon. Yeah, it's just like wiggling
Yeah.
around.
We've got
Um,
the little film canister.
uh,
Honestly, these are really fun because it feels like you just got brand new surface
mm-hmm.
to to something you always play with, but like now it's like brand new toys almost. So I love this. I think it's fine. I like the way it's going so far. It's only been added to one clip, and that's okay for now, I think. And so I'm gonna go. Where do I go now? I'm done color doing my color edit. So I'm going to go back to edit and you can see that that's been reflected on my timeline. So that those clips that we saw on the right hand side, that's not our sequence. So if we
Yeah.
move those clips, that's fine. This is our sequence here. And so you're going to source that always in the edit button right here on the left hand side. And then so you can see the shift of color. Let me see if I can. Yeah, we've got that one and we had this one, I think it's the next one. So you can see that and it goes into this, right? So totally different color representation um, of what you can do with one single clip. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. I bear with me because I think it might kind of not roll it because we're streaming. But
Yeah.
I want to show you the steps because I think it's important. So I used a masking tool for this. Were you going to say something, Ryan?
No, no, I'm just
Okay, yeah.
I'm signed up.
I
I
just
know
heard.
we've got a little bit less than 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
And so if you guys have any last minute questions, please let us know. But we've went through a lot this show, and it's been really fun going through this whole process with you.
Yeah, thank you. It always flies by, honestly. Okay, so here's what I would do to create this step. I'm gonna grab some of the tools that live right here in this panel. I just made it bigger. I just made it full screen, but not necessarily bigger. But yeah, this panel should live right here. You tend to see it kind of squished on the left side like this. And what you're going to find in here is going to be, for example, the text tool, which comes in handy. So you can just type something cool like Spain. Spain is cool. I mean,
Spain
so
is cool.
I'm gonna go
España.
with that. And so España or in Spanish. Yeah, I don't know the I always forget the ñ shortcut. Um, so I can't spell that right now. So I'm gonna go to Windows Properties. We want to have that open. I like to have the properties tab open because it operates almost everything. So here we've got the word Spain, but we want to change that copy to something bigger and bolder. And
Ooh,
yeah, so that's the one I'm going
in
to do.
motion.
Emotion. Ooh, italicizing, you're like, this is motion.
I
Cool.
always like italicize. I
Yeah.
overuse italicize or
Oh, you
italics.
do?
Yeah.
Serif or sans
Um.
serif?
You know, it's crazy. It's like it's so funny how we were in such a sans serif moment 10 years ago. Now we're in such a over serif moment that it's like I'm like returning back to sans serif.
No way. Oh, yeah.
Um,
I think you're right. I
it's like
hadn't thought
everything
about
is
it
the
that
serif right
way.
now all of a sudden, and you're like,
Mm.
whoa, okay, all right. Um, Also, PGR Decky wants to know if you think the icons are too small in color mode, or if you are happy with the little knobs.
That is such a good question. I mean, where is our Lumetri? Windows. Does Lumetri even show up anymore?
I don't think it even shows up anymore. I think they were like, move on,
No, they're still
grow
supporting
up.
Lumetri. By the way, anything we did on the colors are
Mm-hmm.
gonna always, this is your saving place, like whatever. It's gonna be in here, color effects. Anything you do to your clips, anything you do to your the coloring the film, everything is going to show up right here on under the effect controls. So if you can't find it somewhere, you're like, what happened to my Lumetri? Can't find it over there. Everything is going to rest in here. So you can actually continue to make changes in here if you wanted to. I don't know if it's super necessary, but for example, this scene, I want to answer this question, but this scene right here, I don't actually know how to get to that right now. Whatever. Point is, I
Not
really
important.
loved when I probably can't demo it, but I'm going to tell you about it. So in Lumetri Color, the color balance, these wheels right here, this particular wheel, when you hit the little squiggly button on your keyboard, you could go completely wide and you can see them take over your screen. That's what I wish for that area, and I have sent that feedback. So vote it up, send feedback to them, and they make your dreams come true. So just do it, you know? Like
As
so
simple as
I'm
that.
gonna yeah, I really want that too, is what I'm saying. I totally agree. They're a little bit small, and I want to have that option to show them off because they are kind of cool. Okay, so in here, we've duplicated our scene so that we have a sandwich going on. We have Spain right here in the center, that text box. And we have another copy of our clip, which is our fellow right here. And what I'm going to do is go back to this toolbar. And in here, we're going to find this object masking tool. And it kind of comes in a lot of flavors. You've got the object mask tool, but also pen tools and things like this. We're going to go with object mask. And you're going to see how it, upon hover, you're going to find other things that happen. There's a lot of hovering happening in Premiere, actually, now that I
Yeah.
realize.
I think it's because realizing that everyone is like when you're editing video, you really tend to be at a full setup, I feel like, rather than like on a
Yeah, that's
tablet or something,
true.
unless you're using the mobile app. But when you're in it, it's like you can use
So,
hover because they know.
oh, I don't do that. Don't do that. So now I don't remember. Okay, so you don't want to do that. You want to not move your clip, right? Because the first thing you got to do is select your buddy, select the boat. Just keep selecting and unselect anything that doesn't work by holding Alt or Shift, Alt or Option.
Yep.
And now I'm gonna just go in here. Remember how everything lives in effect controls? This now shows up here too. And we're gonna press this track selected part after we change it to opacity mask with a right click.
All right.
So once I start that, that process may or may not happen for me because I'm live streaming, but typically you're not. So you'll have a great time with this. So I do want to show you what happens. So in this area, what it starts to do is it creates those little keyframes we talked about earlier. So that you don't have to. Typically, something like this, somebody would have to painstakingly animate every single step that this boat took,
Painstakingly.
left
Like
and
used to take
right.
so long.
Right. So in my case, I did this super fast earlier. But yeah, so this is what happens afterwards, but I want to show you also the mask and how the mask appears. So if I remove this person in the back, you can see the clip still rolling, right? And it does a really fair way of like sharing that because even in the preview, I noticed that when I export, it looks much sharper. And I
Right.
have it in full screen right now, but trust me, that selection is kind of gnarly. You can always go in here and revisit areas because these are the keyframes that I was talking about. Look how many keyframes. That is so
Yep.
many keyframes that you don't have to make as this person is navigating through the intro scene.
And then you can just like
So
cut out those keyframes that don't work, delete them, and then you don't have to redo the whole thing. It'll actually just like update it accordingly.
exactly. So that is how you make this. You want to sandwich that text so that it lives somewhere in the background. You want to have your full scene in the background and you want to mask that top one, which I'll just make a different color here so you can see it. Yeah. And
All
that
right.
is how you get that effect. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That puts it just about time. I want to say thank you again to Cyn for coming on the show. Always have such a great time
Yeah.
with you. Like you said, time always flies when
Thank
you're with
you.
us.
Yeah,
Coming
it
up
does.
next, we have office hours, so make sure you guys stick around. Thank you to PGR
Yeah.
Decky, and Dino and Liz for all your great questions. Hey, okay, as well, and Sean. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
and thank you so much, Cyn, for hanging out.
Thank you for
And we
having
will
me and
see
thank you
you.
for coming to learn with us. And I appreciate you, Ryan, holding the
Yeah, of
fort.
course. And if you guys are watching the replay, hello to you too. So, all
Yeah.
right, guys, we'll be right back. Stick around.